Hello, it's Lori. I'm here doing an essential tools video for you. I think you think of a cutting board as something that is an obvious choice that you need to have in your kitchen. But when I was first starting out, I hadn't put a lot of thought into what kind of cutting board I had, and I've come to find over the years that it really does matter. Your kitchen experience can be good or bad depending on what quality of cutting board you have and what material it's made out of. So in this video, I hope to tell you what your options are, because when I was starting out, I didn't even know what my options were. I think I just went with whatever somebody gave me for a wedding gift, or what my mom used to have, that kind of thing, and I didn't know what my options were. So I am hoping just to give you the basics of cutting boards, what to consider when you're going to buy one, and why you might choose one above the other. I think it's a really personal choice. There's not necessarily one best choice. There's probably a good reason to have more than one type of cutting board in your kitchen, but it's going to be highly personal choice, and there's no one right answer, I don't think. So when we're going to buy a cutting board, obviously you're going to choose this. There are a lot of different sizes, so you're going to consider what space you have available for using the cutting board, as well as what space you have available for storing it, and then think about the job that you want it to do. Maybe you only need a small one, so you don't need it to take up a lot of space, but it is nice to have a bigger one for certain jobs. Like when I'm cutting up a whole bunch of kale, I like to use this size of cutting board, because I can just get a whole head of kale on there heaped up without it going over. I could probably use one that's a little bit bigger, actually. But if I'm just cutting up an onion, I don't want to get the big cutting board out. And honestly, I have a separate cutting board just for onions, because I don't like the smell of onion getting onto fruit or other things if it happens to soak into the cutting board. So those are some things to think about as far as size. And then the material of the cutting board is going to determine how easy it is to clean, how easy it is on your knife, whether it can easily harbor bacterial growth, contamination. And if you think about what that cutting board is made of, is it a safe and healthy kind of product that you want touching your food? And then there's some maintenance things to think about. So I'm going to just go through the different materials that your cutting board could be made of and give you an idea of each material in those types of categories. So wood is a pretty obvious choice. They have cutting boards made of all different types of woods. Some of them are softer and some of them are harder. And wood is a great choice. It's long lasting. It can be really beautiful, depending on how it's constructed. It's not bad for your knife. I mean, knives come in, that'll be a totally separate video. I'm not prepared for that yet, but knives can be harder or softer. The metal can be of different quality and construction. So some knives will hold up better than others on different types of material. But in general, wood is a good choice for your knife. It's not going to be too hard on it compared to some other materials. And wood is actually a really good choice for not having bacteria grow on your cutting board. It's generally considered to be safe as far as, you can't put it in the dishwasher, so you can't sanitize it that way with the hot water. But there have been studies that show that it's actually safer than plastic. Plastic can harbor more bacteria in the grooves than the wood. Wood has sort of a natural antibacterial or antimicrobial property to it. So it's a good choice for that. Cleaning is not that difficult. You can't put it in the dishwasher, but it's not that difficult to clean it with soap and water in the sink. One maintenance thing that you need to consider, though, is that wood as well as bamboo will need some periodic oiling, and I'm not very good at that. I have two bamboo cutting boards. I generally use this one for bread. It's really pretty if it were to be oiled. It has a nice pattern on it, but I don't have any oil right now. I used to have some mineral oil for it, and then I was concerned that mineral oil is actually a petroleum product, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that. So I got rid of it, and I never got any other oil. your other choice for oil would be, some people use the mineral oil combined with beeswax, and another good oil to use would be coconut oil that's been steam distilled or refractionated, so that it'll be liquid all the time, and it's all the fattiness has been taken out of it, because it's the fats in the oil that could be over time become rancid, and it will give your cutting board a bad smell. So you don't want to use things like olive oil or any other nut oils that would go rancid over time. Let's see. So, I was going to show you this other bamboo cutting board I have that I have not maintained. It's a nice big one. I don't use it as often. It needs to be oiled. I've got the oil on my grocery list right now. I think, I'm not sure where I'm going to find it. I think I might be able to find that coconut oil at the grocery store, but I'm not positive. The main key for your oil for your cutting board is that it be food safe. Even if you use mineral oil, which I think is a fine choice, it has to be food safe mineral oil. You can't go to the hardware store. So you'll want to look at a store like any place that sells cutting boards will probably have that cutting board oil next to the cutting boards. Let's see. The other consideration with wood cutting boards is, especially if you buy one from like a yard sale or like a craft fair or a farmer's market, if it's homemade, you want to just double check, or I don't know if you could even verify what kind of a varnish or finish they've put on that. I've read online, in some cases, people have decided, oh, I'm going to make a beautiful wood cutting board, and then they use glue and varnish and things that aren't food safe. So you really need to be careful about your source of where you're buying the wood cutting board, that it's not, you know, a cheap one from China. I don't know if those, if they're allowed. You just need to be making sure that your wood cutting board doesn't have chemicals in it. So that would be a concern. Bamboo is really similar to wood as far as being good for your knife. Bamboo is considered more eco-friendly because it's sustainable grasses that grow more quickly than trees. The bacteria is similar to wood. It's a little less resistant to bacteria than wood, so wood is kind of a better choice if you're concerned about bacteria growth on your cutting board. And it, like I said, you do need to oil it and be concerned about how it's glued together or stained. Hopefully it's doesn't have any bad varnish on it. Plastic cutting boards would be probably the cheapest alternative for you. But the bacteria can grow in the scratches. It's going to be the easiest to maintain. You just throw it in your dishwasher. Not difficult. When we were first married, I had a glass cutting board, and I hated it. It was the most annoying cutting board. Obviously, it's really good for easy to clean. You throw it in your dishwasher, and there's no cracks or anything, any grooves for bacteria to grow. But it was loud. Every time I would chop, it was just uncomfortable to use, and it's bad for your knife. It will dull your knife really quickly. So any wood or I'm sorry, glass or stone cutting boards would be good for, I suppose, bacteria and ease of cleaning, but bad on your knife, and they're just not very nice to use. I don't think wood is so much nicer to use. Then we have the wood composite, and I showed you this cutting board. This is actually wood glued together. Now, they say that the resin that they use to glue it together has formaldehyde in it, but once that cures, it's inert, so it's not going to go into your food. So if you're going to eat the resin when it's in its liquid form, that would be bad. But honestly, I don't think it's a problem in these cutting boards. And this is my favorite, actually. It's the brand is Epicurean, and you can find it at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I'm sure any other place that sells cutting boards. They're pretty popular. I have 2 of them, these 2 sizes. You can put them in the dishwasher. This one's a little too big, I think, for my dishwasher, but I do put this one in the dishwasher regularly. This is my onion one. I really like them because they feel like wood, because they are wood. They're a little harder than wood though because of the resin, so it's harder on your knife than the just straight wood or bamboo. I haven't noticed in my knives really any problem. I sharpen them when they feel dull, which isn't very often, and I don't have a problem using those. I don't think they're that much harder than wood. There's no maintenance on those. You don't have to oil them, and they are naturally resistant to bacteria because they're made of wood. And then there are silicone mats. I've never used those for cutting. I'm interested to know if any of you have used those and what you think, how they're used or how they feel when you're cutting on them compared to wood. The one benefit I can see to those is that you can fold them up into a funnel, and then whatever you've chopped up you can easily get into your container. So I think that would be a nice benefit to those cutting mats. And I know they make them in different colors, so you can designate one for meat and one for vegetables and so on. So I hope that information is helpful. It's kind of a big rabbit hole if you go online and start to research your different cutting board options, but if you don't know even what the options are, then you can't make a decision. So I'm hoping that information is helpful for you, and I'd love to hear what your favorite cutting board is and why, and maybe I'll learn something new from you. Thanks for watching.